Hi, I'm Diana Green with Ketel One Vodka. This is the launch of the Ketel One Society in Miami. We are going to be launching a program for the next 5 months where we are entertaining bartenders from all over South Florida. If you'd like to be involved in the Ketel One Society, you can email me at dgreen, with an E on the end, at mktg.com. For those of you who are already Ketel One Society members, let's put your hands up for me. Who's been to a Ketel One Society event before? Awesome. We've got a nice mix tonight. I think we have some society members who have been coming out to our events, and then we also have some newbies. So let's welcome the newbies. And you'll find that Ketel One Society basically is a fraternity for bartenders and for the industry. And what we're trying to do at the end of the day is to bring you events of substance and style. So things that are interesting, things that will help you in your careers, things that will help you with your craft, and things that are enjoyable and fun. And things that we get to do a lot of Ketel One drinking as well. So it's always good in that sense. Ketel One, we all know it's handcrafted by the Nolet family, over 320 years of distillation experience and 10 generations. So that's what we're doing tonight. We're going to be crafting our own meal. We're going to be crafting our own cocktails. So it's all about the craft, not only of Ketel One, but the craft of what we do every day in our lives, and behind the bars, and in the kitchens as well. So I want to take a moment to introduce Mr. Rob Husted and Mr. Cesar Romero. They are going to be our mixologists tonight. They have created every cocktail on the menu, including the one that you are drinking now. And they're going to walk you through the idea of pairing cocktails with meals. We all know that there's a lot of wine dinners out there, but cocktails can do it too. Let's pair cocktails with food because it's fun and it's exciting and it's probably a little bit more challenging and interesting. So we're going to have a little bit of time to talk about that, and they're going to demo a couple cocktails for you. So give it up for Rob and Cesar.
First of all, get up for Ketel One, giving you guys this opportunity. Just about every month, Ketel One does something called the Ketel One Society, and then we all get together for different events, drink great products, and come together to learn different things. And today's all about craftsmanship, like Diana said, crafting great food and great cocktails, and seeing how we can work together. And as soon as I get my PowerPoint started, we'll be ready to go. It's a good turnout. This is probably the most I've ever seen. You offer free food, free drinks. Everyone's here. I like it. What do you guys think of the welcome cocktail so far? Awesome. What we're doing right now is, bear with me, I'm waiting for the PowerPoint. I'm going to be talking a lot about reading off the PowerPoint for a little bit. We're recording this for video. This will be available for free for you guys afterwards. So those of you who didn't bring pen and paper, don't worry about taking your notes, and we'll talk about where it's going to be available right afterwards.
Tell us a little bit about this.
We're getting into that.
Oh.
You're about 3 slides ahead.
I like it. Sorry. Figured you had some downtime.
Yep. We'll just jump in. Again, we'll just skip ahead to the PowerPoint menu and go to this. Cesar Romero, everybody. We'll go right in that welcome cocktail. Cesar wanted to put together this welcome cocktail. Cesar and I have been doing spirited dinners many, many years now. More years than we want to admit. And I wouldn't do any spirited dinner without Cesar. This guy's amazing. He's a genius. And the cool thing is we look at cocktails and food and the way we approach it sometimes a little differently. So it's like opposites attract. It works out really well. But I'm going to do Cesar Romero. He's going to talk a little bit and tell you about the welcome cocktail.
Well, thank you very much for having me and like that cocktail. The basic reason why I did this punch is actually creating the 5 ingredients that they're into a punch. A couple of things that I want also to have in this punch is something that might just open up your appetite for the journey that we have right after. The basic ingredients in the punch are just regular Ketel One. I made a peppercorn and orange syrup, and I use Carpano Antica formula, a little bit of lemon juice, and water. That's basic things: spirit, sugar, citric, spice, and water for create the punch. Basically, sometimes you might think about using some other spices, cinnamon or whatever, but in this case I want to have the peppercorns, you might probably actually toast them first, trying to like balance it out, probably the bite that peppercorn has itself, and just kind of like work it out with the rest of the citrus and sweetness from the oranges and the lime juice. So glad you like it. It was kind of like putting everything in like a couple minutes before you guys got here. A couple things that actually we're going to do on the pairing. It's not actually working with any of the things that you actually have. This is just a welcome drink. It's just a regular punch, something cool and relaxed for you guys to enjoy. Very basic. That's the way that I'm going to be doing things today. From all the bartenders out there, mixologists, and people who really wants to be part of this, foodies, and everybody who wants to be getting the knowledge of what you can make there and what you can make here. My cocktails will be in that reason. Very simple, very basic, and easy for you guys to remember. Thank you very much, and Rob's gonna keep going with the presentation. Thank you guys.
As you guys know, like Diana alluded to, pairing alcohol and food is nothing new. Somebody's been doing it for years, Brews Masters has been doing it, and now bartenders, we get the fun to do it. The cool thing is, it's a great way to, sommeliers, Brew Masters, mixologists, always a fun picture of mixologists. It's a great way to sell more product at the bar, and a different way for your guests to enhance their experience. Personally, for me, like Diana said, it's a lot more challenging, but because that's a lot more rewarding. There's more flavors to flavor. You can do different things. Just the whole back bar is like a whole fun chemistry set you can enjoy with. Wine is great. You pop it open, you let it breathe, you pour. That's great. To me, this is more fun. This is something I enjoy, something I'm very passionate about. How many of you guys have actually done cocktail pairings before? Anybody here? Nice. Cesar, tell us about it. What are your experiences with it?
I use rum.
Mm-hmm.
So what I did was normally chef before do the menu in order to we have to use different spices in order to match it up the profile flavor. What I did was do the cocktail first and present it to the chef in order to prepare our matching. So it's pretty fun. It's challenging, but it's really interesting.
Nice. Who else? I saw a couple of hands. Who else prepared cocktails before? Yes.
Actually, whenever I try to pair meals with cocktails before, I try to see what the ingredients are into that entree, especially if I compare spices with spices. If I have the spice in the cocktail, it goes a little strong. Or something that has a lot more like ginger or spice in the meal, I try to pair it to make sure that they both kind of balance each other out and kind of make it work together for pairing. So when it comes to pairing, I always try to make sure that I have elements that can stand out in the street and
Exactly. And I think that's the basic key of mixology. And with whether you're using food, whether you're using cocktails, is balance. You can't have something too tart without bringing up a little sweet and find that balance. When you find that synergy, that balance, then you got something amazing. And then that's something that, the way I look at it is, am I going to order that cocktail again? And the answer is yes. Most likely it's a good cocktail, and the bar will sell more. And I don't want to sell more cases of vodka, so it's a good thing. Awesome. So you guys kind of approach pairing cocktails differently. And it's kind of exciting to see that. The cool thing is with cocktails, where do you want that? There's more than one way to do it. There's no right way, there's no wrong way, but there's some guidelines. We're going to get to that. And the first thing I wanted to really say is, we're all bartenders, what do you want to call them? Mixologists, professional bartender, flair bartender, whatever, we're all bartenders. Once we drop the egos, let's just have fun. The meaning of that is, don't be afraid to experiment. You're going to have good cocktails, you're going to have bad cocktails. It's okay. What you like, I might not like, and someone else will like. The cool thing is, just do it. There is no risk without no reward. And you'll be surprised, just getting back there and actually doing it and playing with different things, you're going to come up with some amazing stuff. The only thing I suggest is just write it down. Sometimes, Cesar's great at this. We go to his bar, we hang out, we have, just make me something. Oh my God, that was great. The next day we're drinking, what was that? It's a shame, but all I suggest is to write it down. Much like, what I'm giving you right now is much like food progression, when you start off with something light, how you work your way to a little heavier, and at the end a nice decadent dessert. You kind of approach cocktails the same way. It works out better that way. They start off with something like an aperitif that opens up your palate, like Cesar did. The reason why he did the welcome cocktail, not only does it look beautiful and taste beautiful, but the reason why it's going to open up your appetite, so you're going to be hungry later, and it's going to help get those glands going, your taste buds awaken. And I thought it was a beautiful cocktail. The peppercorn and the orange, I loved it when I had the pepper. In my opinion, there's 3 ways to pair cocktails and food. We're going to jump into them right now. The first one is complementary pairing. This, to me, easiest way to do it. Strategy brings together cocktails with dishes and cocktails that complement each other's flavors, such as a sweet raspberry chocolate martini and a piece of chocolate cake drizzled with raspberry sauce, using the same flavor profile that's in the dish as you will in the cocktail. And like I said, in my opinion, that's the easier approach. Doesn't mean it's any wrong or any less. It's just an easy way to get into it. So those of you who are first starting out with that, I suggest to start that way. And the work is pretty much already done. Chef does the work, you just pair the cocktail with it, or vice versa. You make the cocktail, the chef pairs the food. And one thing I really, really suggest is when you're approaching pairing food and cocktails, talk to the chef. You know, back of the house has a certain feeling about front of the house. Front of the house always feels a certain way about back of the house. This is a great opportunity to get together and get you guys talking. You're both very passionate about what you do. One wears a chef coat, the other gets to play with bottles. It's no different. It's all about flavors. And what I suggest is to talk to them, say, hey, I got this great idea. I want to do something with like orange and cream. The chef's like, no, I got this. I got this perfect dish I've been working on. And it's crazy that the things you guys will decide about each other and get different ideas going. The better you work together and communicate ahead of time, I guarantee the better your whole progression of your spirit dinner will be, or your pairing of the cocktails. What we had? Complementary pairing. The only problem is sometimes it can be less exciting. Rather than have a dish and a cocktail enhance each other, it seems like one continuous experience over and over again with nothing, excited and no give and take between each other. Which brings us to the next pairing, which is contrast pairing. Just the opposite. Strategy tries to bring cocktails together with dishes that contrast each other in a nice flavor profile, like a nice rich rack of lamb paired with crisp, refreshing mint julep. We all know lamb and mint go together really well. Opposites attract, balance out the refreshness with the savory, kind of find that balance like we talked about earlier. In my opinion, this one's a more exciting approach. There's a lot more options with this one. You're not just, here's your box, play inside your box. You get to jump outside the box and do different things. And find, there's so many things you can do once you have something sour. There's so many sweets you can play with. And the same thing vice versa with savory and richness. And this to me is the most exciting one. I had the most fun doing contrast pairing. And perfect example, opposites attract, just like the classic salty peanut butter and jelly and sweet jelly. Everyone has that as a kid growing up. I think it's a funny picture. I love it. But that to me is the most perfect example. And contrast pairing is just a more exciting approach to it. Moving on to the third strategy, and this is something that I kind of played with a lot, and it's interesting. I call it blending pairing. Basically what it is, this strategy tries to bring together cocktails with dishes that complement and contrast each other, such as one of the cocktails we'll be demoing later. This to me is one of the hardest approaches. Not only are you utilizing some of the same flavor profiles, but you're also going to utilize some of the contrasting flavor profiles. And so not only trying to just balance something just the opposite, but you're also trying to balance something with the same thing as well. It's a little more harder, but it's a lot more rewarding in the end when you get it right now. Couple tips to keep in mind. This is something we learned along the way. Alcohol to fat content. Dishes with high fat content to be more successful with higher alcohol cocktails. The cocktails usually need something to stand up to the fat dish without the cocktail getting lost or overpowered by the food. Typically, the higher the alcohol level, the more weight the cocktail has. Meaning, the easier way to think of that is think of body, think of mouthfeel. You got a rich, warm, juicy piece of meat with some heavy sauce on there. I'm not probably going to pair it up with a light, very crisp, very refreshing, almost a watered down cocktail. It's going to get lost. I'm going to taste more of the dish and lose the cocktail, that pairing, that balance that we're looking for isn't going to happen. We have all heard the saying, white wine with fish and red wine with meat. The root of this adage comes from the principle of matching the body, the weight of the wine, with the weight of the food. Meat was generally heavier and red in color, so it was assumed that red wine would pair better with it. White wine was fish, and would assume that it was paired better with that. Certainly fish was generally light and white in color, so it was often paired with white wine. And it's funny, back then that was true, but it kind of pairs today now. Helpful tips also to keep in mind: acidity. Acidity is a dominant player in any food and cocktail pairing due to the pronounced and complex ways it can heighten the perception of flavors. Acidity is perceived by the mouth watering response of the salivary glands. The mouth can be also serve as a stimulant for the appetite, and dishes that are fatty, oil, rich, or salty acidity can cut through the heaviness of your refreshing change of pace in the palate. So if you have something creamy, pasta alfredo, chicken and pasta alfredo, something really heavy, the acidity can help cut through that, so you can actually balance the cocktail better with that. And again, I might be blowing through this, but this is all be online together later. We'll tell you how to get it for free to help go in more detail with it. Sweetness, one of my favorites. America loves sweet balance. Sweetness balances spice and heat. It can serve as a contrast to the heat and alleviate some of the burning sensation caused by peppers and spicy cuisine. It can also accentuate the mild sweetness of some dishes in contrast to salty dishes. So if you have something very spicy and very hot, you can use sweetness kind of balance and bring it back. If you have something, a particular sweet note in the dish that you want to bring out, a certain sweet can actually help accentuate that and play together nicely with it. Bitterness. Bitterness can serve as a cleansing agent on the palate by binding to the grease and oils left over in the mouth. Spicy and sweet dishes can accentuate the dry bitterness of cocktails and can change their profiles in different directions. Cesar, what do you have to add on bitterness? I know you're a better component of bitterness than I am.
Well, there are many of them. Sometimes I would used to use probably some vermouth, maybe out there. You can even probably work out or play it out with some different, even spices. Actually, you can try to get the bitterness from oranges, orange peel. Most of people, they used to play with a lot of Campartis or brands like that. Amaros from Italy always are the best things to work out. They're basically herbs and some other citrus ingredients. Most things out there, basically what actually used to, or pretty much the base or the reason why, it's just to cut or help out the citrus and the sweetness get together. That's my way of seeing it.
Perfect. Next one, aroma. This is something that's widely overlooked in bartenders making cocktails, I feel. The perception of flavors is linked to our sense of smell. While taste comes from the sensory glands of our taste buds, aroma can enhance or diffuse flavors as well. When you first bring that cocktail up, the first thing you do is generally smell it at first. It's amazing how you can make one cocktail, make the identical cocktail, but garnish with fresh cilantro and herb, and you totally taste different. You're using the same measurements and everything. So biggest suggestion in doing that is don't forget aroma. Aroma, you play with different things. It's like a second step. It can enhance, diffuse certain things. If something's too potent, you can add something to kind of sweeten it up a little bit. It's a really cool fun fact that's often overlooked. After talking about making cocktails so much, you guys ready to actually make some cocktails?
Yeah.
All right. Cool. First, I'll bring Cesar back. He's going to demo one of the cocktails he's going to be making later for you.
Ready. So like I said, my drinks, they're going to be very, very specific, very simple for you guys to follow up and kind of play it out. If you probably just can read this down and later on you might just go home and make it yourself, or just have an idea, probably improve it or deconstruct it or whatever you want to play it out with it. So this drink that I'm going to make for you, that I'm going to sample right now, it's going to be one of the pairing drinks for one of the starters. Basically, try to shine on with pretty much the basic. My spirit, it's the most important thing, and the other ingredients are kind of shining something that would be actually in the food you're going to have. There are a couple things that I always like to play when I actually pairing food. The first two things is the spirit has to be the star, and what the chef put on a plate has to be the star. So if the chef is playing with or using a steak or a cutlet fish or something very specific and important, that's the shine ingredient in that dish, I'm not going to use something that might ruin that flavor. So I'm going to use something that explodes the flavors on that, and use some couple of things to balance it out, and use this as the entrance to the dish. So I'm gonna actually talk about the ingredients and why I actually pair those ingredients with the dish when you guys have the dish. But first of all, I'm just gonna go for the basic thing. I'm just gonna use, like I said, my. I'm gonna start actually my uses. You always actually use start with your basic juice and stuff, and then the spirit goes last. In this case, I made a reduction, a pineapple reduction, which is basically fresh pineapple juice, a little bit of sugar, and put it on the flame, just reduce to you get a thick, consistent, and kind of like a syrupy type of flavor. So I'm gonna use a half ounce of this. It's some music in the meantime. And I'm also going to use calamansi juice. Calamansi juice is a hybrid between tangerines or mandarins, as people might know it, and limes. It's a very kind of like tart and citrus at the same time, but have those aromas. So I'm going to use half ounce of this too. And then my main spirit. I'm going to use 1.5 ounces of Ketel One Vodka. One of the things Rob Husted was talking about is the importance of having various aspects of the drink that you're making and getting the whole experience in one thing. One thing is the senses you use when you create a cocktail, when you create a dish. On this one, I actually am going to use a little spray of Uso, which is an anise-based spirit liqueur. Most people probably have it from Greece, some others from Middle East. So what I'm going to do is just give it a little spray on it inside of the glass, just to get those notes in there. And then just going to shake this drink. Get the proper dilution. And it's fine. Then we just pour inside of it. We're just going to garnish with something that I just, in a funny way, I just call cucumber spaghetti, which is just a specific cut of cucumber with a channel knife. So basically you got actually the aspect of it. You just put it in. That might be the refreshing part of this drink. Because that's another thing. Garnish are always part of the drink, and it's very important. If you add actually something eatable, you might actually have to come up with something fun and good looking. So there you go. There you have it. This drink would be called blue and white, or is it blue and white? The reason is part of the grease, the Mediterranean, the flavors of the uso might be pairing with something very probably simple or complex at the same time as conch. That's going to be your pairing cocktail for the chef's going to make the conch chowder. So thank you very much.
So with this cocktail, what of the three strategies you go for? Contrast, complementary, or blending?
I would say actually I use blending because I'm taking the first step, which is having some ingredients from the dish and actually implement it in my drink. I would say also I'm using, because I'm picking from a different perspective how to play it out, or not washing the fat or the creaminess of the chowder, but I'm actually also using an ingredient that might be enhancing the flavors of it. So I would say that I'm using a blending technique on it.
So do we get to try it? Should
Of
I
course.
get the test?
Yes. Well, I just make 3 of them, but
Yeah, you can make 2 friends real quick.
yeah.
Here we go, one over here. First one to grab it gets it.
Perfect. All right, the next one we're moving on to is something I call Ketel One Insanity. This is again using a blending technique we use. And this is Ketel One Vodka, very large bottle of Ketel One Vodka. And all I did was infuse it with delicious apples for about 48 hours. Just give it a nice color, and this is going to pair, hopefully, in your opinion, really well with a pork dish later. So what's going to be is 1.25 ounces, the apple infused Ketel One. Pop that in there. 3/4 ounce of Marie Bizarre Capri. This is basically an apricot liqueur. Two ounces of unfiltered apple juice. One ounce of Fireskull citrus sour. This is going to give us that citrus that we talked about earlier to help cut through some of that fat of the pork. And then, because I don't want to get too lost with the pork, I'm actually going to use 1/2 ounce of pork broth. A little something different to bring back that little pork back a little bit. Yeah, I said pork broth. Henceforth, this is insanity. A little bit of cinnamon sugar. Brand new. For the sweetness, which we talked about earlier. Just one little dash. And then for this, I'm going to use 2 pieces of basil. And I'm not going to muddle it. I'm just going to rip it up, throw it in there, and shake it with it. Just to give it a little bit of that, help bring up that body, that's the herbal feel of it. Shake it up.
With a smile.
With a smile. Let's even blend that. And garnish with the apple wedge, and this is the absolute setting. Diana? I know you want to try this.
I love it. Give it up for Rob and Cesar. Hey Rob, is this kosher?
No.
Just checking. Going forward for all of our Ketel One Society events, each member will have an opportunity to step up and do this if they like, to come up and actually create the cocktails for the evening and present them to their peers. So I would encourage those of you who have an interest in it to make sure and get in touch with me. Our next event has a very, very special guest. Mr. Carl Nolet Jr. will be in town, and he wants to see each and every one of you. It's going to be a little bit of a wait, because we have to wait for him to get here. So we're looking at January 21st. So go ahead and mark your calendar. We're going to hang out on some stone crabs at Joe's, and we're going to hang out with Carl Nolet. So it'll be really, really fun. So you'll believe me, I'll give you all the updates as we get closer and closer to it. But I also will be doing a little paint and punch for a small group. Anybody interested in painting a canvas of their own in this room? I knew you would be. So I'm going to send out a note for that. It's going to actually be in Broward, and we're going to just go paint our own canvases. And you're going to walk home with your own canvas. I'm going to make some punches up, and we're going to have some fun. So I want to say thank you again to Rob and Cesar for all of the work that they've done. Not only in coming up with the cocktails themselves, but also prepping the cocktails tonight. So they're going to be working their tails off to get those cocktails to the table for you. But now, I have the very distinct pleasure, I'm sure many of you have heard this name in the industry, I have the opportunity to introduce Chef Norman Van Aken tonight. He is going to be prepping a little something special for you. We are going to be doing his signature tasting menu tonight, and for those of you who don't know, he is a James Beard award-winning chef. So, welcome, Chef Van Aken.
How are y'all? Wow, that was what the bartender, mixologist, rock star performers have to say. They're so consistent with what we do with cooking. The only thing that's surprising to me is that it's taken this long to add for the bartenders to get the recognition that the chefs have gotten for a while, and I'm really happy that it's occurring. The discussion as far as contrast, like with like, all of that stuff is stuff that we admire in the making of the kitchen. And this particular dish is called, well, it's actually usually called rum and pepper painted fish, but tonight it's called vodka and pepper painted fish. But I'll tell you that it was not really a stretch for me to change this to vodka, because the first time I made this was with vodka. And I chose it because of its ability to go with lots of different things. And essentially what we do is we make a paint. We were all just talking about painting. Is this thing on? We always talk about painting, but we actually paint our fish here in a few moments. And the way we do that is we start off with the ingredients that are right here in front of us. And so what we have is we have contrasting ingredients. So when I say soy, what do you think of for saltiness? Next ingredient, sugar, contrast. And so what we do is we continue to put all of these different ingredients in here. Now we're looking for a completely different thing than salt and sugar. So we're going to go with citrus. So I have lemon juice, and then a lot of zest of lemon here, really refreshing. And of course we know that lemon goes with fish very nicely, so it wasn't really a totally crazy idea. But with salt and sugar, the other thing that's kind of like the other more powerful chord there is pepper. So we have a good amount of pepper, and then some of the peppery notes, but also the spice, with the kind of florality, we have cloves. And so all of this gets mixed together in a pot. Oh, how about some vodka? Sure enough. Now you have to be careful with this, because if you're using a gas flame, it could get interesting. So even though it's not, I will step back for a moment. And if it does go, you'll just want to have a pot holder or a top, and just put it on there until the flame dies down. But already this is reducing up, and I'm sure pretty soon those of you in the corner are going to smell this already.
You can smell it already.
Yeah, it's really got a lot going on. Matt is one of the chefs here at Tuyo, and Matt, why don't you go ahead and, that pan's hot enough. I'm going to show you painting a fish in a moment, but for the interests of time, and so you do have dinner tonight, we're going to kind of speed this one along a little bit. We're not going to go in the oven and actually cook this. But let me have this one here. So then what I do is I just take this mixture here, the vodka and pepper paint, and here, this one has already been made. It's been reduced, strained, very important, you don't want to be chewing on those cloves, and then cool down so it ends up like this. And then you just put that on there, or paint that on there like so. And actually you will do this, let that set up, and then maybe 2 minutes later come back and do it again. Just don't dip your paintbrush into the big pot, because you don't want to spoil this. You just want enough for what you're cooking. So if you go ahead and make a pepper paint, make it, but only pull out what you're going to be using that night, because obviously you don't want fish in your paint. So there's that. That's what he has searing right there, and this just keeps reducing away. And that vodka is already in there. And there's vodka already in you. Things are balanced. Right? And this, we're going to go for contrast now. When I was making this with these kind of spicy flavors, sometimes people say, "Here was the rum and pepper painted fish, but it was spicy." Well, when you think it would be, pepper is in the name, but it is spicy, so we're going to take mango, puree of mango, a little bit of orange juice, a little bit of habanero chili, and then we're going to go ahead and put that on there, and that hot fish and that cool sauce, hot, cool, spicy, sweet, here, chili relleno, poblano chili roasted and peeled, here, boniato mashed Cuban sweet potato, This is heated up in the oven. This gets served alongside hot, sweet, boom, 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 boom. That's the idea. All right? We'll heat it all up for you. We'll actually cook the fish through too. We are going to go to another room next door. Actually, we have to go out of the building and go to the right. But before we get over there, I just want to preview that we're going to be making something that you all are going to be cooking this one with me, or preparing maybe is a better way to say it than cooking. And it is a shrimp ceviche with salsa of life. When you get over to this room, there's going to be a bunch of round tables. Just go to any seat you want to feel comfortable with. Sit with whom you ever want. There's no assigned seating, and nor will they be upstairs when you have dinner later on. But I'd like somebody to recognize that they're probably going to be the chef of each table. If not doing everything, at least being the bossy one, all right? So choose your partners in a way that you're going to have some fun. You're not going to feel like you don't want to touch anything, do anything, just want to sit and relax, enjoy yourself, okay. But make sure somebody else is type A personality, and then we'll get everything done, all right? So, you were going to say one.
Thank you, Chef. That was very hot and very sweet. Can you tell me a little bit about this?
This is the new book. This is our 5th cookbook, and this one will be out in 2 weeks. This one's called My Key West Kitchen, and it is all on the roots of my cuisine. And actually, we have a home in Key West, and my son Justin is my co-author, and so full-color photography throughout. Very rootsy. There are some cocktails in here, like A Woman Gone Crazy, Bloody Mary. Anybody recognize the song? Yeah, a little Key Westy there. The prep room mango daiquiris. This is a mango daiquiri that we made in our prep room in the kitchen on a hot day when the mangoes were in season. And believe me, service was a lot more fun that night. So it's available through Amazon right now, but a very fun trip to Key West with recipes and lots of stories as well. So check it out.
Thank you, Chef. As we walk out, please try not to take the time to use the restroom or stop to smoke or do any of those sorts of things. Let's get over to the kitchen. Make sure you grab your Ketel One apron from Amber in the lobby, and we'll see you next door.
But I think we're going to be stuck here for a minute. I'll get a little bit.
And expect you all to wear your aprons on the street.
What's your name?
No, we're going to come upstairs for breakfast. So hopefully you enjoy that. Awesome.
We have what? Amazon tonight.